par zampe ze parchen palden lame shabla solvade Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Uta Vardhani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Pakyuke Kudan Dagelu Pakyuke Sundan Daginga Pakyuke Tugdan Dagiyi Tenyerme Chikto Chingelo Makyuke Kudan Dagelu Makyuke Sundan Daginga Makyuke Tugdan Dagi Tenyerme Chikto Chingelo Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Swaha Sangye Chodan Soge Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapso Chi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchira Sangye Druparasho Sangye chedan tsogi chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapso chi dagi jinso gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye druparasho Sangye chedan tsogi chonam la chancho pardo dani kyapso Dagi jinso gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye druparasho. Nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nel Sangha prendo rifugio fino all'illuminazione. Con la pratica della generosità e delle altre perfezioni possa io ottenere lo stato di Buddha per il beneficio di tutti gli esseri senzienti. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
The tool, the most powerful tool that we have in our life in general, and in particular along our own personal path, our spiritual path, is our body and our mind. These are the most powerful tools that we have. The other tools, the surroundings, our environment, our wealth, our material situation, it can also be used to benefit us, and they can be used in a virtuous way, to benefit us or to harm us, depending. But among all the tools that we have, the most important, the most powerful that exists is our own mind and our own body. I remember in this very, very important text called the Bodhisattva Acharyavatara, which is the guide to the style of life of a bodhisattva. There's a point where Shantideva says, speaking to his own body, says, I give you food. I let you rest. Now you need to do what I say. Now sit down and be there. Oh, I don't feel like it. Well, why do I feed you? Why do I let you rest? And so he uses the analogy, like I pay you your salary. You need to do your duty. So instead, we are often at the service of our own body, but it should be our body at our service. It's important for our body to be at our service in the sense that, what are the objectives that I have? No, I want to reach a state of peace. I want to act in a way that's beneficial to others. Well, may the body be favorable to this scope. So we should have this ability to direct our body. This is something very important. Because if the body at some point is not well, it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult to meditate. It becomes difficult to do many things. If our body has strong pains, or is not able to rest, or doesn't have strength, etc., this naturally brings to so many other problems. So that's why the physical health is very important and should be taken care of. The other aspect is the other resource that we have that's very powerful is our own mind. And what happens is once the body and the mind are powerful resources that we have for our own spiritual practice, then it's very important to become the master of these resources. The body and the mind need to follow the direction that we give it and not the contrary. Very often it happens that the choices that we make are kind of a result of our own emotional, mental states, our desires, our attractions and aversions. And so in some way, it's almost like we were living at the service of these attractions and aversions, and instead of the opposite. So it's important to understand that what's important to understand that we are at the helm. We are the ones giving direction, and depending on the direction that we give, the body needs to follow. An example of this would be like the nature of our desire is the more I have, the more I want. There's even a chemical explanation related to serotonin and why the more pleasures I have, the more I want, and the more I actually need to stay at that same level of satisfaction. It's a whole mechanism that we don't necessarily have to follow. Something that I learned in my years at monastery, which was very important. I learned I learned that it's not just because I want something that I have to have or have to try to get. We have this idea that if I want and I can get, why not? And there's simply because we don't need to be slave of the I want, because the more I let myself follow my desires, the more I'm taken by what I want, the more I want, the more I'll need to get. I'll always need to get more. Then it's just an infinite trying to get. And so something that really helps is to distinguish between what I want and what I need. When something is a necessity, then okay. When it's not a necessity, when it's a desire, almost a caprice. If you can have that without having, without hurting anyone, without having any negative side effects, okay. But instead, if to get what you want, you create conflict and create anxiety, then it's not good, because we become slave of our desires when we're not able to keep it at bay, when we're not able to hush it. And then with anxiety and desire, we want something. In other words, when our desire becomes a need, then there's something that's not going well. And for meditation, it's really important to keep our desires at bay, because something that creates a great interference, so it's a desire and attachment, the mind that goes here and there. I want this, I don't want that. And we try to follow, our mind follows objects of desire. So it's important for us to understand that we need to be the masters of ourselves. And the decisions I take should not be consequences of certain mental dynamics and certain reactions, or of desire or aversion. Those emotions are there, but I can choose to follow them or not. And I'm going to act with awareness. It's like the metaphor from before. I get on the horse, and at a certain point, the horse will want to go home. At some point, the horse will get hungry and want to go home, but it's up to me to say when we go home. It's up to me to say, no, come back here. If at a certain point we don't have any control over the horse, then it's not good. It's not going well. I mean, naturally we'll have attraction and aversion, but the direction that we take with our choices and thoughts should not be determined by these attractions or aversions. Is it easy? No. But and precisely because it's difficult, we need to put effort in it. If it were easy, I'd say, don't worry then when it's the time, it'll just come. But because it's difficult, it's really important. It's very important because, generally speaking, in our life, one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves is to become masters of ourselves, to succeed in directing our mind with awareness, and not always happily. When does the mind not follow happily? When there are contradictions or inner conflicts, which exist. It's very normal to have attraction towards something, and at the same time know that that thing is not good for you. It's normal to have a pleasurable feeling, like I drink the water. I like water a lot, but I know it's not good for me, but oh, it's so good. So what's the contradiction that I have in that moment between the sensation, the feeling, and the knowledge? Because my mind, based on knowledge, tells me drinking this is harmful and I don't want to be sick or not be well, so I shouldn't drink it. But my feeling, the mind of feeling, tells me, but it's so good, and so I want it. So when we have a pleasurable feeling, inevitably we're going to develop attraction. And we have conflict when there's attraction on one side and aversion on another, based on the same thing, because I like it, but I know that it's not good for me. I don't like it, but I know that it's good for me. We're full of contradictions. So it's normal that sometimes we see that our mind is attracted by something, but then we know that it's not the good direction for us. So being the master of ourselves, we're able to not block these feelings, but we remember that they're impermanent and we don't give space to them. We let them just go, and we don't get taken by these feelings. Having this ability is something marvelous. It's one great gift we can give to ourselves. And to do this, we need to be masters of ourselves. We're to be in charge. And this is one of the benefits of meditation. Because what we need to learn how to do when we meditate is to learn how to be masters of ourselves. It's not easy, we know, but it's possible. it's a little bit like learning something new. At the beginning, it's difficult. Maybe learning how to ride a bike or do a type of dance or learn how to speak a different language. There are many things that at the beginning we're just at the beginning things are really difficult for us and it's not going well. So how does it start to go well? It starts to go well by repeating, repeating, repeating. What at the beginning was difficult, little by little, then becomes easy. So after having taken the correct meditation posture, so we're here with 1 back, 2 legs, 3 shoulders, 4 head, 5 mouth, 4 hands, 5 shoulders, 6 mouth, 7 eyes. There, 1 back, 2 legs, 3 shoulders, 4 hands, 5 head, 6 mouth, 7 eyes, 8 awareness on our abdominal breath. So once we have developed this posture, now we need to begin to give signs to ourselves that we are in charge of ourselves. We need to pick up the reins in our hands, but our horse is a little bit wild. It's not used to someone telling him where to go. He's used to just going where he wants, you know, the wind takes him this way, or a smell takes him that. So this horse is taken by expectations and memories and smells and sounds. Our mind, a traditional metaphor, our mind is like a monkey in a tree. Have you ever seen a monkey in a tree? What's the image of the monkey in a tree? Is he there quietly sitting and observing? Or is he in constant movement from one part of the other of the tree? It's not like the sloth. It's a monkey. So our mind is like our mind is like the monkey that just jumps around in the tree. And what makes our monkey mind move, or this horse that's not able to stay still? We're taken by what we hear. So, we're sitting here and then we hear something. Our mind follows, right? A smell, a taste, feeling, and something that we see form. So, and then we have, which there are also mental distractions, ideas and memories and projections, expectations. All those mental objects that are even more difficult. So we have our 6 senses, and we're used to being constantly distracted by our 6 senses. So imagine that we're on this horse, and the horse in reality is just out of control. Regardless of how much we want to take the reins, there's a sound, that the horse follows, a smell that the smell that the horse follows, a memory that makes him move, and we're trying to just keep this horse still. This is what happens when one begins to meditate. Usually at the beginning one says, this is absolutely impossible. Let's just give up. But it is possible. It just needs a little bit of time. Have you ever seen a horse with the blinders? Why do horses wear blinders? So to not be distracted and to not be afraid, actually, when they're on the roads. We need blinders too, because if I'm there sitting there meditating, and then I hear sounds and etc. It becomes more difficult. Imagine you're trying to meditate, and then someone you love comes and someone starts to caress you, or it's somebody next to you, starts swearing, or criticizing you. It just becomes more difficult to sit concentrated, to not be distracted. So we need to protect ourselves from distractions. This protection from distractions comes during meditation, but even before. Because when we live a distraction, this distraction is lived during, after, and also before the next time. So when we have a distraction, it's not just that moment of the distraction. That thing stays. Last Wednesday when I was teaching in Milan, I gave the example of I said normally I try not to listen to music, nothing against music, but there's certain types of music that for me are fine, but there are others that, I have I have I have a very good musical memory. If I hear a song one time, it just stays with me. So, and then when one at least once, it comes out. So I try to protect myself from that. It's not the problem is not the moment that I'm listening to music. The problem is after, when I'm sitting there to meditate, and then that music comes out. So this distraction has two, three moments. There's the moment of the distraction, there's the memory of after, and then there's the expectation of the first, this desire of wanting to pick it up again, this expectation or wanting to pick it up again. So we should create this habit of having as few sensory objects, as few stimuli as possible, sensory stimuli, knowing that when we start to diminish when we start diminishing the sensory stimuli, the natural reaction will be to want even more. So it should be done gradually with kindness. When we sit down to meditate, let's remember that the state of concentration is not a state of tension, but it's an inner state of relaxation. When we're concentrated, we relax from the distractions, and we bring our attention with kindness on the object we choose. So, when we imagine a concentrated person, what kind of face do we imagine? Is it tense in the face or relaxed? And normally, we think of a concentrated person is it's like the first one, like I'm concentrated with. It seems like all the energy, maybe the all the blood comes to the face, and all the energy goes there. One even gets a headache. And instead, when one is concentrated, one relaxes from distractions and places his mind on the object of meditation. So the object of meditation during the preliminaries at the beginning is actually our breath. We allow ourselves to be present in the present moment. We gently place our attention on our breath. And any other thought that comes, which will come out like with the, maybe like after 2 seconds, 5 seconds, when other thoughts come, we don't block them, but we don't follow them either. It's a little bit like if we're going in one direction, and this is, no, I want to go this way. No, just let him talk, because after a certain after a certain point, he'll be quiet, and while you keep going in the direction you want to go. It's like when someone wants our attention. There are two ways of giving attention to someone: by listening what he wants to say and coming into contact to creating a dialogue, or um, or you can try to hush that thought and explain why it's not the right time. If we try to do that, we're giving just as much attention. So when a thought comes to us, we shouldn't block it. Because when we try to block a thought, in reality, we're giving attention to that thought. And we shouldn't try to follow it either. How do we not follow a thought? By not entering into dialogue with that thought, without trying to imagine or justify, or just we try to be indifferent. Comes, there's that thought, we just leave it. It's impermanent, it's going to pass, and we bring our attention onto our breath. This is the basis. It's a little bit like what, one is on a horse, and very often the horse pulls in one direction, and instead, I don't let the horse go in the direction that it wants to go, but I gently just stay on course where I was going. We bring our attention back to our breath. Don't worry if at the beginning you see that the horse just keeps pulling from one side to the next, and that the monkey mind just jumping all over the tree. This is absolutely normal. Just look at our daily life. I mean, how our mind is constantly jumping from one object to the next. It's normal. So we can't wait for like one day to the next that we just, out of nothing, we say, okay, mind stay here, and it does. No, we need to give time for our habits to change. So there are different techniques, breathing techniques, and I like to share them with you. And then I invite you to do to have your own experience, and you see which one works best for you. Like when one sits down, if one has strong emotions, has more anxiety or fears or anger or desire, if there are strong emotions in that moment, then it's better to inhale from your nose and exhale from your mouth. This happens when someone is not calm, when someone sits down to meditate and sees that there's there's a little bit of inner storm, that things are moving inside. And in that case, what we do is we inhale from the nose and we blow out from our mouth. We exhale from our mouth. When we inhale, we imagine that we're going to gather up all those feelings and emotions, and then we blow them out and we let them go. Just inhale and exhale. And we do this a couple times, and we'll see that little by little, one begins to calm down. This technique is also explained in the text of the Six Dharma Preparations written by Paponka Rinpoche, and he explains these techniques. I was trying to remember the names of the techniques in Tibetan, but I can't. So one could even exhale with strength, which is a little bit like what we do in self-healing, when we ask for the blessings of the five Dhyaniputas. We inhale and we exhale. We use also the gesture, the mudra, and in relation to each one of the chakras, which one is the mental defilement that should be purified. And this is useful when these mental defilements are manifest with a certain strength. If we're calm and relaxed, then we should just breathe from our nose. Breathe in and out from our nose. Otherwise, to calm down, we can do this meditation for a few minutes. Now let's go to another type of breathing, another level. We have the meditation with our breath, breathing with strength, or just watching our breath, or we have the breath, the breathing combined with visualization, or before the visualization, there's the breathing exercise where we count our breaths, and then there's the breathing in the 9 cycle breathing exercise. I like to match up these exercises. So the one with the exhaling with strength is quite simple. Remember though that when you do this, we shouldn't get into an inner dialogue. If I see that there's jealousy or anger or envy, I shouldn't get into it. Like, it's not like this. It should be like that. It's I justify here or there. No. Just after. But now I don't have time. Maybe in another time I will. But now, no. Inhale and then exhale with strength. That's the first one. The second one, just a simple meditation on our breath, where we inhale them through our nostrils and we exhale through our nostrils, and we bring our attention to the sensation, the feeling of our nostrils as the air comes in and out. So we give attention actually to our nostrils, and we allow ourselves to live this present moment, simply observing the air that comes in and the air that goes out. And any other thought that arises, when we realize this, that we have another thought. I mean, normally we're already far. At the beginning, when one realizes that he's no longer watching his breath, some time has passed, because normally, one starts and then ends up on the other part of the world, and and it says, I was trying to meditate, and then just don't forget it, don't justify it, don't explain, just come back sweetly, gently to the meditation of your breath. And then little by little, one will be able to catch his loss of concentration more quickly, and then you'll get to the point where as you're concentrating, you'll be able to recognize a part of the mind that wants to be distracted. But what's important is at the beginning, when our mind is not attentive or we lose it, we lose our concentration, don't get frustrated. It's part of the process. It's not new. I mean, it's been like this since the time of Buddha and before. So it's not like I can't do it and I'll never be able to do it. No, you know. So ask any expert meditator. Ask them how they began. They can see that more or less it's like this, unless someone is born with such a strong predisposition for meditation. But otherwise, we all do. We all follow the same steps. So we're there seated. And we observe our breath. We rest our mind on our breath. And we tell ourselves, I allow myself to be present. This is a simple technique and should be done before beginning the preliminary prayers or self-healing, just so that you have a minimum state of balance. So imagine as you sit, it's like you get on your horse and you just want to you do this exercise until your horse calms down enough. This can last a long time or just a short time, depends on each one. The other technique combines that breathing exercise with a counting. So first we sit down, we observe our breath. We start with the same technique, the same breathing technique. And then we start counting our breath. We inhale, exhale, 1. I inhale, exhale, 2. And we go ahead one after the other, just keeping our attention. And there are 2 different ways of doing this. There's one that's quite rigid and another that's more relaxed. So the more rigid one is every time I see that I've lost my concentration, I go back to 1. And the risk being that one never goes beyond 1. But with a more experience, then you can do this, You need to try to get up to 7, keeping your concentration. If you can get to 7 without the mind going anywhere else, then you can begin your practice with the refuge prayer, etc. And the other one is, I do it. I see that the mind goes away. I lose my concentration, but then I keep counting. And then if we do that, then we get up to 21. If our level of concentration is middling, we should be able to get up to 21. Is it really low? You'll see that if it's low, if it's not good, you'll see that you'll not get to 21, and you'll have taken a trip around the world and you won't even remember which number you were on. So this fact of counting helps us keep our presence. 7 seems like it's not a lot, but by breathing slowly, then you'll see that it takes a while. So you can do 7, then 14, then 21. So you can do that. Inhale, inhale, exhale 1, inhale, exhale 2, trying to keep an abdominal breath, and trying to keep the breath deeper and deeper. So we inhale, we exhale. If we're able, the ideal thing would be to breathe in 4 phases. The breath in 4 phases. I inhale, I hold my breath, I exhale, I hold my breath. And ideally, the space between the inhale and exhale should be longer and longer. This becomes more difficult. The pranayama practices it exists in Buddhism. It's quite rare though, but within the Hindu practices of pranayama, there are some practitioners who are able to inhale and exhale in very long time. I remember I was watching a documentary, something scientific, I don't know, and they were doing some kind of study on on the breath according to age and lifestyle, and they made like a closed room where there was just a limited amount of oxygen, and they controlled the heartbeat, etc. And they were measuring how long one could stay inside this room. And at a certain point, so they did it with young people, old people, smokers, non-smokers, everything. At a certain point, this Indian man comes who was a meditator, a sadhu, who spent his life meditating. And I remember the scene. He arrived with just a kind of sarong around him, but just a cloth around him, very humble. He was quite old. He was kind of walking quietly inside, gently, and then he sat in this room in a perfect lotus position. They asked if they could close the door, and they said yes. 45 minutes go by. The others we could stay 5, 7 was already a lot. And his and then those who were the ones who were doing the study, they decided to open the door. They were just shocked, and he said, "Oh, is it already over?" Because then the time between inhaling and exhaling is very, very long, and these would be techniques to lengthen one's life. Anyway, in our small effort here, small world, when we breathe, let's try to gradually to have this awareness where we breathe in, and before we exhale, we hold, and then we inhale, we hold it, and then we exhale. Try to breathe it all out. Then we hold. Then I inhale again. Let's try to do this breathing with these in 4 phases. And in these 4 phases, we're going to count every time we exhale. this will already help us a lot. Just simply an exercise focused on our breath has a great power, and we can do it anywhere we want. So let's count our breath in this way. And the other phase is where we're going to combine the breathing with a visualization. And what happens is when we inhale, we imagine light that comes into our nostrils like a light, a nectar that brings all the blessings of the holy beings, love, strength, concentration, healing power, everything that's positive and virtuous, calm, peace. And this is going to nourish our state of peace and calm. And when we exhale all of the tensions that have been accumulated in our body and in our mind. In this case, when we exhale, we begin by observing the tensions that have been accumulated in our bodies, in our shoulders, in our chest, in our stomach. Because when we have emotions during the day, or even during the night, in some cases, these tensions, these emotions have an effect on the body. So if today I felt fear, there's a part of my body that is still tense. The same thing happens with anxiety, with anger, with dissatisfaction. So according to the situation that we live, the emotion that we live, then we accumulate tensions in our body. So when we inhale, we receive blessings, and we gather up all these tensions. So we take the tensions starting from our body, and we feel in our body, where do we feel tension? And then we see, okay, it's in my chest. It's maybe at the heart, at my heart. When someone has a lot of anxiety, this point is right here at the center of our chest. Just you can if you touch yourself there in the middle there and it hurts, it means that you have some anxiety. In Tibetan medicine, it's called a disturbance of the humor wind, lung. And there's another one. It's at your back under your scapula. There's or at the back of the same point. You can also try there. It's the same point. So we go through our body, our stomach and our liver, the attentions in our kidneys, in our heart, in our bladder. You can, little by little, you can go through your body or your lungs, or if lungs, from sadness, and then when we exhale, we let go. We let go without getting into any inner dialogue as to why I'm tense. No, we just let it go in the form of dirt and black smoke that just dissolves into space. So then we start by the tensions that were the the tensions from today, and then we can get up to gathering up the tensions that were accumulated, since our childhood, since our adolescence, and years past, because my mother, my cousin, my teacher, because of this, that, and the other, without getting into the why, but we just allow ourselves to gather up those tensions. And loosen them, let them go. Once we've finished this with our body, and we've realized that we've um, let go of the tensions of our body, then we go on to our mind. The tensions of the mind are the resentment and sadness and anger and envy, etc. So we gather up all the tensions that gathered, collected, accumulated today without getting into any kind of dialogue. We just let them dissolve, and then the tensions from previous days, and then all the way back to the beginning. What we do with this technique is we are we are we are freeing ourselves from these tensions, and not we are not identifying ourselves with these tensions. We can live without them. They're not part of me. This can last a long time or a very short time. It can be 2 minutes or 2 hours. I invite you all to have your experience. You know, if you have a certain sadness, or then it's really good because it allows you to really to welcome and gather up, your the tensions without any kind of dialogue, without justifying, without criticizing, and then without identifying ourselves with these feelings. Then we let them go, and then we breathe in light and nectar that regenerate ourselves and bring us to a state of peace and satisfaction. This other, this is another very valid technique. So we've seen inhaling and exhaling with strength from the nose and exhaling from the mouth, just observing the breath, putting our attention on our nostrils, counting breaths. You know, in four, our breath divided into 4 parts. The other technique is to gather up our tensions and let go of them. We inhale and we regenerate with light and nectar, and then we exhale and we let go of our tensions. The next technique is the Lung Ro Gudrup, is the realization of the breath in 9 cycles that eliminates dirt. And Lung means wind, but let's remember that Lung, wind, means also prana, energy. So Ro, the different meanings in Tibetan, but Ro means taste, but Ro also means corpse. Lung Ro, these are the energetic corpses. These are the energetic blocks that are stuck inside of us. So it's a technique to cleanse these cleanse these tensions, these blockages, to cleanse these energetic corpses. You know, these corpses of our negative energies. I think we've all felt this, that after a moment of anger, you know, maybe the anger is finished, but something has been left, you know, in the body. You know, that mental process can be finished, you know, strong desire or something, but there's some kind of physical tension that remains. So this technique is very valid, and Lama Kanchen has taught us many times. And it's very well known, but at the same time it's a little secret because it's explained. But it's, you know, it's not explained so easily. It's not. But if you go to a monastery in Tibet, years will go by before they teach you this. And something that I like, the way we teach Dharma in the West, is that we learn techniques, and also for the philosophy, we learn things that 99% were taught only within the monasteries, and this is a very valid technique, but it's not always explained. Let's see it. This technique combines visualization, movement, and breath, but mostly is breath with visualization. There's breath, and then there's visualization, and then there's movement that then helps, but it's not the fundamental point. I've also seen movements done in different ways. I'm going to teach you how I learned, but there are there there are different ways. Maybe the order can be different. I've seen them explained in different ways, and different ways are also valid. So firstly, we visualize our central channel, as we explained yesterday. That starts with our forehead. It goes along our spinal cord until the base of our spinal cord. And we try to imagine our central channel being strong, and we have two side channels. We have the right channel and the left channel. The right one has to has to do with feminine energy and attraction, and on the left part we have the channel that's related to masculine energy, aversion. These two channels run right along the central channel, and where the chakras are, they 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 entwine around the the central channel. So, and then at the at the navel chakra, they entwine, and then at the very base, they enter into the central channel. And so three fingers under the navel, the two side channels go into the central channel. What happens is that most of our actions and thoughts are influenced by what? A state of neutrality, or aversion, or attraction, a state of balance, or what do we have most of? Aversion or attraction. I mean, there are very few moments where we're able to just calm down and be neutral. So what's said is that when we have emotions that are mostly taken by aversion, this happens. It's the, this, it, then we're going to use mostly our left channel, and if it's attraction, our right channel. And when we're able to reach a state of more peace and balance, then we're working mostly with our central channel, using mostly our side channels, right and left. What happens is, just imagine you have this channel like something full of air, and then the two side channels turn around, twist around, but so sometimes with just so much strength that they strangle the central channel, and so the energy can't flow through the central channel. They're blocked by the side channels. One of the objectives within the Vajrayana practices is to gradually allow the energy to come into the central channel. So we visualize our central channel and the side channels. To simplify in this visualization, we can visualize the two side channels as being straight without imagining them turning around the central channel at the chakras, twisting around them. Once we've done that, we sit down, we observe our breath, we allow ourselves to visualize our channels, and then we begin with our breathing. So then we make a Vajra fist. We put the thumb at the base of our ring finger, and then we close our fist. And then we put the hand at our knee, and we do a kind of self-massage without too much pressure, but we go up through the thigh to our hips, along our torso, up to our shoulders, and then we put our hand, both hands out, and then we do we do another self-massage of the arm, and then put the hand under our armpit, and we're going to put our index finger on top of our middle finger. Sometimes say, that you can close your left or your right nostril. So we're going to close the left nostril. And we're going to breathe deeply from the right nostril, and we're going to imagine the light that comes into the right nostril, goes inside, goes all the way down to three fingers under the navel, goes into the central channel, and then goes to the left chakra. When it goes to the navel, then we've finished breathing. Then we hold our breath. We close the other side, and then we exhale strongly. You can do it like in 3 times to get all the air out. Once you finish that, then we repeat 2 more times. So when you exhale, once you've finished exhaling, and then when you move your hand from one nostril to the other, you hold your breath, and then you inhale, you hold, and then you exhale. And 3 times. And we repeat that 3 times. After the 3rd time, we bring the arms ahead. We do the same movement that we did, but inverted. And with our left hand, we're going to close our right nostril. And we hold our breath, and then we exhale. Then we hold, and then we inhale again. And we repeat that for a total of 3 times. Once we finish the 3rd time, we do the opposite movement, and then we put the hands in meditation, and then we inhale 3 times, and exhale 3 times from both nostrils. We inhale deeply. These are the 9 cycles. 3 times I inhale from the right, exhale from the left, and 3 times I inhale from the left and I exhale from the left, and then 3 times I inhale from both nostrils and exhale from both nostrils. What do we imagine and visualize while we do that? When we inhale from the right nostril, we visualize light and nectar that enters, fills up our right channel, that follows the breath, gets to 3 fingers under the navel, goes into the left, to the left channel, and it like does a kind of cleaning. It cleans. It 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 just cleans the channel, and then we clean the other, and we imagine all the energetic blockages that were created from attraction and aversion. They're all cleansed. It's we imagine that they're like there's dirt, that were like stuck inside the channels, and then we imagine that get they get all this dirt gets pushed out, and it's absolutely cleansed. When we unite both hands, that when we do with both hands, we imagine that the 2 side channels are clean, but we breathe with both nostrils. The air enters the central channel, cleanses our central channel, and any dirt in from our central channel, then we exhale and it comes out of the 2 side channels. So we inhale, we imagine from something to help this practice is that when we inhale, here we inhale in 4 phases too. We inhale. When I'm finished inhaling, it's as if I'm gonna swallow, and I push the energy down, and as I push the energy down together with my breath, I try to bring the energy up. The energy comes up is kind of like when we try to jump, and this energy comes from our legs, let's say, and this is vast breathing, and we try to concentrate our breath 3 fingers under our navel. So as we inhale, we imagine the energy that goes down, and then we recall our lower doors, our pelvic floor muscles, and we bring that energy up. There are many in many practices like qigong or in yogas. There are practices that are similar to this. So, and then when we exhale, we direct it from one, from one side channel to the next, and then when we inhale from both, we're cleansing our central channel. This works well. It can be done quickly. It's not something very long. So it's good to start with a little bit of meditation on our breath, and then we visualize our channels, and then we do the 9 cycle breathing meditation, and then a little bit more of meditation on the breath, and then you can begin with motivation, like and then you can do the refuge, bodhicitta, etc. So, someone asked why we do this self-massage on the legs, and Lama says no one ever explained, but these are very important meridians for the legs and on our torso and then under the arm. These are actually what we're doing. This kind of self-massage, we're stimulating meridians, and those are the meridians, from what I've understood. These are they're directly connected to these energies of attraction and aversion, and the the same things. Um, you know, when when we make when we make a Vajra fist also, and we put our thumb underneath the ring finger, we're also stimulating these channels, these so-called meridians. I mean, those are different words. In Sanskrit, they're called nadi. They're just energy channels. So we call them meridians, or we call them energy channels. But when we want to stimulate them, it has an energetic effect that's also mental. So that's why I do this kind of self-massage. It's to stimulate these meridians. Something that's interesting, just to open and close parentheses, this, I don't know how much we're aware that today, I don't, it was something that maybe something we knew in the past and we don't know now, or it's just something stupid from my mind. But I think that, even what we use today as jewels, as jewelry, uh, the position that the jewels are put. For example, we've got bracelets, anklets, necklaces, earrings too. These are points where meridians can be stimulated, and to have also the contact of certain metals. Something is very clear. Using the gold, for example, the gold on the ring finger has a specific reason, because it says that the ring finger has a direct relationship with this channel, related to desire. Also, for example, the wedding band is put on the left hand, not just in the West, and I don't know where it was born, but the for Tibetan, the medicine, one puts certain metals or 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 stones to balance, to balance some kind of energy. And so the gold on the ring finger, like as done as for the wedding band, is supposed to balance desire. So Rinpoche, for example, had many malas, some malas that were made of certain material, because he would say that it would be good for his body. One was for his kidneys, one for his brain. He said it was good for his body to have these kinds of metals in contact with his body. So these techniques, like the 9-cycle breathing meditation, they are creating a balance between attraction and aversion. I invite you to do it often. Try it, and it will help bring the mind to a state of balance. So I invite you to focus your attention on your breath, um, and then do a 9-cycle breathing meditation, and then conclude with another short breathing meditation. It's a very well-known technique, but it's not a technique that is explained very often because it's usually something explained within a certain context, and it has a lot of power when it's done. So it's useless to explain it if it's not going to be practiced. So let's do a little bit of explanation. Let's do a little of practice together, because this will also help us remember. Is there a question before we do? Someone says, I'm not sure when you clean the two sides, when you inhale, it's so the channel is like a tube. So the light actually pushes the light pushes the dirt from one tube, and then the dirt goes out the other tube. So if so it's all connected. So it enters, from one side, and and I do it on both sides. Okay, so the light cleanses one. This should be done from both sides, because there's this relationship. There's a relationship between attraction and aversion, and so that we give emphasis on one or the other. So we give emphasis on the channel that we're inhaling from, but then we do it on both. We sit in a comfortable position with our back straight and not tense. One last thing, it's important, and I didn't say it. As we do these phases, we need to maintain two characteristics called two antidotes: Drempa and Sheshing in Tibetan. The translation of Drempa is like awareness and attention. It's in English, Drempa is mindful recollection. Mindful recollection and vigilance. So the Drempa would be remembering that our focus is on our breath. We remember the memory on our breath, and and to make sure that it doesn't go to other. It doesn't go. Sheshing is vigilance. So it's this other part of the mind. It's like a kind of guard looking around. So when we have a lot of mental agitation, we need to give more attention more attention to where the mind is going and telling it to come back. When we have less mental agitation, we don't need to give that much strength, but but should be given more to this awareness, this mindful recollection. These are the 2 points. If at a certain point during the meditation we see that our mind is not going around but starts to become a little foggy, that's not good either, because then we're getting into mental torpor, mental fogginess. This normally doesn't help when we're beginning to meditate. Often it happens afterwards, because at the beginning there's a lot of mental agitation. So usually what happens is one is able to go beyond mental agitation, but it gets substituted with mental fogginess. But that's not good, because the mind, the meditative mind should be clear and focused. We should be careful not to go to one extreme or the other. So we sit comfortably with our back straight, but not tense. Our shoulders are relaxed. The right hand up on top of the left. The head just slightly forward. The mouth relaxed with the tip of the tongue touching the palate. The eyes slightly closed, looking downwards. We allow ourselves to be present in the present moment. We inhale from both nostrils. With an abdominal breathing, we bring the air down under our navel. We allow ourselves to be present in the present moment without forcing. We let our breathing be natural, with gentleness. We focus our attention on our nostrils. Inhale. And exhale. any thought that comes to our mind, we don't give it any importance. So without justifying or judging, we don't grasp at it. And with gentleness, we bring our attention back to the feeling at our nostrils of the air that comes in and the air that goes out with our inhale and exhale. We relax. We allow ourselves to be present in the present moment, to be free from distractions. And with gentleness, we bring our attention to the feeling of the air that comes in and comes out around our nostrils as we breathe in and we breathe out. We maintain our awareness on our breath. While we inhale, we gather up all the tensions that are accumulated in our body. We receive lights and nectars that revitalize our qualities, bringing us peace and well-being. And we gather up, as we gather up these tensions in our body, as we exhale, these tensions melt and they dissolve as we exhale. Breathe out black smoke and dirt. Inhale and exhale. We inhale. And exhale. We gather now the tensions that have been accumulated in our mind, the fears, anxiety, sadness, pain, without getting into a dialogue with these tensions. Simply we gather them up and we melt them, letting them leave us in the form of black smoke that dissolves into the space in front of us. We inhale and exhale. Well, now we visualize our central channel and the two side channels. We make a Vajra fist and we follow the 9-round breathing exercise. Now we gently put our energy, our focus back onto our breath. We have a strong central channel, two side channels that are clean. We inhale. And we exhale. With our focus on our breath, we breathe in 4 phases and we count our exhales up to 7. We inhale, we exhale. We maintain our awareness on our breath. We maintain a abdominal breath. And gradually we open up our eyes slowly. With this, we've done a brief part of preliminary practices. invite you to try to have a certain continuity. And I think it'll be easier at home to do the meditation, breathing meditation at home without your mask. To doing the meditation on your breath, doing it well, is will lead you to have more control over yourself and help you develop more awareness and and control. And once you're able to do that, you will be ready to start a beautiful, beautiful journey. It's continuing with the same metaphor. Once we've befriended our horse and we've created the right harmony and taken the reins and have been able to have the right amount of control, then we're ready to embark on a marvelous journey and see beautiful places. And then we begin the other part of preliminary process. So we have concluded the preparation of the posture of a body and mind, and now we need to generate the correct motivation. And now it's not the right moment to begin all the explanation about that, also because I hadn't made a specific program about what I wanted to explain and where I wanted to get, but I think this is a good place. I mean, we've seen a general introduction to self-healing, at least its history, what it is, and the importance of the preparations, the importance of the preliminary practices. And I leave you today with a very valid practice that you should start using, because if you start using this tool, then when we do the next part, which is the taking of refuge or the generation of bodhicitta, there, it, when one has done the preliminary the preparation before, one this gives it a lot more strength. When we can develop a deep sense of love towards ourselves, and this feeling of love towards ourselves is going to transmute into feelings towards others, because we can't love others without first loving ourselves. So first we develop a sense of love towards ourselves, and then we we then include others. When we talk about developing love and compassion towards others, we're not excluding ourselves, we're including others. And the motivation with which is important to do this meditation practice, the practice of self-healing, is a motivation based on love. The love intended as Maitri, the attraction towards happiness, the happiness of ourselves and the desire for others to be happy too. So traditionally we call this bodhicitta, this mind of enlightenment, this mind of love and compassion towards others, with this intention of developing oneself to benefit others, to get to this state of consciousness with which we will then begin the actual practice. There's a whole process that we need to go through with visualizations, etc. The love towards ourself is refuge, and love towards others is the generation of bodhicitta. And these are two extremely important parts. But how can I go to a beautiful place with a horse if I'm not able to guide him at all, to lead him at all? So before going towards refuge and going to, love towards self and others, we need to learn how to take the reins and say, okay, I am able to direct direct my mind. So these exercises, we did a total of a half an hour. It was about 30 minutes. So I think this is quite possible to to do in our daily life, you know. And luckily today we even have the recording, so you can even go back and play the recording as a guide, or you take, or do it as it's been done for centuries and works even better. You take your own time and you do it yourself, but there's no hurry. There's no hurry, but we need to first have good control over ourselves. So first, stability. So a little bit of meditation on our breath. Create in your lives the space for the practice, physical space, also time, this temporal space. Because when you create that's spatial time, then it really works. I mean, it's amazing, like a calendar, an agenda. As soon as you write, if you write something in your agenda, automatically the time and the space for that thing just magically appears, and it's like you write something in your agenda, you feel like you have to do it because you've written it there. So it's important to put in our agenda the days, the time of a practice, create this temporal space, create this material, physical space. And with this, we'll be able to gradually familiarize ourselves. Another way to create, another way of creating physical and temporal space are like days where you can dedicate to the practice. For example, you could take one day a month, and one takes that day, and one says, I will dedicate this entire day to the practice, going to bed early the night before, waking up early, just, for example, maybe one can dedicate the entire day just to these breathing meditations we've done. You do a little bit, then you stop. At the beginning, it's better to repeat the same practice in short times instead of doing too long. So, if we dedicate ourselves that day, I have an appointment. I have an appointment with my gurus. I have an appointment with myself. It's a sacred moment. I'm busy, so it doesn't matter if it's your cousin's wedding comes up or whatever it is. I mean, you have chosen that date to do this practice. And along our spiritual practice, it's important to knowledge is important. The part of the view, conduct is very, very important in our daily life, and it's very, very important. Meditation is very important. Using these tools and these practices. And when we talk about there are two moments. There's the practice. There's our practice. There's our practice in our daily life, and then there are intense practices. It kind of retreats. And if we do our practice well daily, then we will really be able to take advantage of these more intense periods of retreats. So one does a session before breakfast, after breakfast, and then another session after lunch, and then another session after dinner. One has dinner very early, and then one does a session after dinner. This is normally how one structures an intensive period of retreat, waking up before dawn. It also depends on the season and what time the sun rises. But it's an idea. It's important to take a day, a month to dedicate exclusively to the Dharma, to whether reading or certain practice. Here in Albagnano, we're growing. And the global vision of the center, the one that Lama Kanchen has brought and what I'm trying to carry out, to materialize, is to have a structure that is at the service of the practice, to be a refuge for all of us and to give conditions for the practice. And what I see as being very important is, I think it's very important to have moments where we deepen our understanding of the practice. Important to have these so-called retreats. I'd like to take advantage to rejoice. Tomorrow evening, one monk, Geshe Losang Punsok, tomorrow, he's at the center here with us, and the center is supporting him in all his expenses to conclude a retreat, doing basically 12 hours of meditation a day. Tomorrow, he concludes 4 years of retreat. He's spent his life studying Dharma, has an amazing amount of knowledge. Different parts of the world, different places around the world offered the place for him to do his retreat. And he chose us because there was the presence of Lama Kanchen, because the place is sacred when there's a sacred being as well. So tomorrow concludes. He did about a year of preparation, 3 years of practice, and tomorrow, and then about 6 months of conclusion. I had asked him to do some kind of ceremony or something, but he's really quite humble. So I really wanted to rejoice for this. I mean, this is an activity of the center, and since we are all part of the center, I mean, we say, the center is supposed to do. No, there's not like some separate entity. No, we are the center. So the center supported his retreat. And so with all of us, with our membership, with our donation, with our Sarva Dharma, we're part of this. So we all have a part of that energy. And one project that we have here at the center, something I really believe in, and I really believe in this project, is it was last Friday or the other day I went to talk about this project to the mayor in this other city called Gifa, because in this other city is there's it's a protected wooded area. And a few years ago, I asked if we could, where we have land, I wanted to do meditation huts there. They received this proposal positively, because this is one of the holy mountains of Piedmont. That from first by over centuries within the Christian tradition, this is one of the places of pilgrimages for the Christians, and we have there's also a church of the Holy Trinity. And so one idea is to do a kind of the kind of path that leads from our temple to their church, a path that it will be lined with Christian and Buddhist sayings. Anyway, what I want to say is that our center is at the service of Dharma. It's difficult to find time to find our space and time to meditate at home, but it's very important because when you can meditate well at home, then you can also when you'll be able to do a retreat, you'll be prepared to do a retreat. Having the it's very tiring to try to do a retreat if you're not prepared. So these 12 meditation huts would be places where all of us, when we will have the conditions, when it will be the moment, one can go for a week, 10 days, 3 months, a year, depending, dedicated to the spiritual practice, for the development of Dharma. These intense moments of practice are very important. I hope to be able to conclude this quickly. In the meantime, we prepare ourselves. Normally I don't talk about this, but I wanted to share, because we don't live in a monastic context where everyone has the conditions to practice, and we don't all, everyone has their own expenses and their own obligations. But if my idea, when someone has a preparation of the practice, and is really able to do a practice of 3 months, for example, then we'll find the means. We'll do like a fund. Make sure that the expenses are covered, because someone among us who is able to practice deeply helps everyone with their practice. This is something comes indirectly. I've seen this with my own eyes. It's very interesting. When someone among us and more people have a deeper knowledge and can raise the level of their meditation, that influences very positively the community, without for their own practice. So having someone so marvelous, having a retreat, doing a retreat here is a way to help everyone without saying anything. So I invite all of you to practice, beginning with practicing, meditating on your breath and practicing self-healing, and we'll have opportunities to do retreats. I love teaching, but it's also really important to spend longer times where we're not just talking, but we're meditating. But as in Tibet, it says, to meditate without first having listened and understood is like trying to scale a mountain with closed fists. So you need to know what you're meditating on. You need to have a meditation before you do. But I believe that we have marvelous conditions. We all will have many opportunities, but we need to prepare ourselves for the best. I invite you to practice at home, find the place, find the time, and there'll be more opportunities in the future. The last thing before we do our dedications, this explanation of self-healing, I'm very happy to give it, and we'll go forward with it. I hope to do one weekend a month. I'll see. Lama Caroline should be coming to. She was supposed to come, but now with coronavirus and We don't know if she'll be able to travel or not, but we'll go ahead with the teachings of self-healing. And in the meantime, I invite you at home to go ahead with the practices of the meditation on breathing, etc. One more thing, traditionally, when an important master, um, 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 when an important master leaves us, it's important to create all the conditions necessary to create the conditions for him to return and find him. I mean, he doesn't need to come back to us, but we need to create the causes and the conditions. We need to create a positive interdependence so that we can receive someone so special who will continue to guide us. Many of us who have been with him, we've already received everything we need, but it's a question of continuity from generation to generation. And when we spoke before, we said when we go looking for a master, it's more important to find someone who has an inner level of love and wisdom than someone who has a great capacity to explain. One thing is a professor and another is a spiritual guide. And the spiritual guide, if the spiritual guide can explain well, the wonderful, but it's more important that the person has a certain inner level. So this is why in Tibet, when there's the tradition of looking for a tuku, the translation would be an avatar. It means emanation body. It makes reference to those people who have reached a state of wisdom and compassion and inner stability where they can choose with awareness where they're going to be reborn. They're already outside of the cycle of samsara. They are beings who have a level of very elevated, a very elevated spiritual level. And once you have created a connection with such a being, it's very important to continue. So when we make our prayers of a swift return, um, when we ask for him to be here, not just for the teachings, but just have his presence, having someone who has such qualities, be in the presence of someone who has such qualities is so important. And looking for the reincarnation, normally it is started about 2 years after death, and so it'll be up to me. And in this moment, what we need to be focusing on is to create a positive interdependence, positive conditions for him to come back here with the best conditions. I do say, oh yes, Rinpoche, come swiftly, come quickly, but if we need to wait a little bit longer, let there be the right conditions. This is important. So this is something really important, this connection between causes and results. And us as disciples, we need to create the causes. So historically, traditionally, when an important master would leave his body, many activities would be dedicated to his swift return, to create positive causes and conditions so that he can then have the right conditions to be able to develop, because it can happen that like a highly realized being takes a body and doesn't have the external conditions to actually develop, and so stays like a closed lotus flower. But instead we want to create the right conditions so that he can blossom for us. So what's most important is that we need to put into practice what Rinpoche taught us. This is the most important thing. Rinpoche often said, that inner peace is the most solid foundation for world peace. Look, everything with peace, peace with everything, peace looking, peace speaking, etc. The practice of self-healing. And we put into practice his teachings, follow his advice. This is the most important thing that we should do. And there are other practical things. For example, we need to realize what were his requests, his wishes. A little bit before leaving his body, he gave specific indications of things that he wanted. And one, he wanted us to help the hospital of Urbania. When Rinpoche was in the hospital, he said, I want to help the hospital. We bought this machine for the hospital to help pregnant women during the lockdown, and it was about 15,000 euros, and the Sangha readily provided the funds for this. And then Rinpoche was so happy. He said, yes, we need, but he said, we need to make a donation to the hospital of 100,000 euros. And I said, the money that we have the money for the temple. And Rinpoche said, the temple can wait. The priority is the hospital. And I went to speak to the director of the hospital, and it was in the middle of the lockdown. I mean, you can imagine what the ASLA, the health service department was like. But we looked together for a project to do, and now we are putting together this project, actually this week that's coming. And so I wanted to share this with you, because what we're going to do is we're going to transform two rooms in the hospital, in the infectious part of the hospital. So we're basically going to transform two rooms in this part of the hospital, so that any kind of virus that is present will stay there, and it won't go around the hospitals. Very important. Very few hospitals have this. So when we added up the costs with the engineer, etc., it comes up to 102 euros without sales tax, and so it's about 120,000 euros. So that's one project. Another project is to create the stupa for Lama Ganchen. We're doing everything we can on a bureaucratic level to be able to bring his body to Albagnano, where his body will be placed inside this stupa at least 1 year before the cremation. And what's really important, it's important that we participate. Even if somebody came and says, I'm going to pay everything, for me, it's important that everyone participates, because it's the energy it should be all of our energies. It's in the presence of Lama Ganchen. It's not for the benefit of one, it's for the benefit of all of us, and for all of us who will come, for those who will come after. So I ask you to participate, I ask you to participate. It's not a question of money, but it's also a question of you know. If we lived in other times, I would say come and help bring cement, help bring, help build, even to realize the temple would be so beautiful if we could actually physically participate. But in modern times, it's not even possible. But asking everyone to everyone to participate, not asking a specific amount. I'm asking just participation, energetic also participation. So people ask, how much should I give? What should I do? What I've always done when I've wanted to make an offering, I would say it's not too much and it's not too little, just the right amount. And it's not determined by a number, but it's relative, that for me it's what I can give. It's not too much and it's not too little. So this is something that I very rarely I speak about these things during teachings. Those who know me, maybe this is the first time you hear me saying something like this. But what I'm talking about is not about the economic aspects of these projects, but the energetic aspects for all of us so that we can create the right conditions. So the real prayer of swift return is putting our energy together to create the best conditions so that Rinpoche can return among us. There are other things that we should be doing, but in this actual moment, this is it. So now we're going to recite the prayer of swift return, but putting our energy into this project is a real prayer for his swift return. So now we recite the prayer of swift return. We dedicate. We want him to return. We want him to return among us as quickly as possible. It's also a way for us to connect. It's to connect and feel grateful to Rinpoche, who has transmitted, given us so much. I've seen very few people like him. And Rinpoche was never afraid of the judgment of somebody else. It's okay. He did things, he was really ahead of his time. Even self-healing. Even self-healing was criticized at the beginning. There was one time, when Rinpoche created self-healing, right away in those first years, he called in Milan. There was a hotel called, at the time, Franco Ceccarelli owned this hotel, and there was a conference room, and he did a kind of European convention with the most important Gelugpa masters, and he created this encounter to present self-healing. And before that, there was one master that when he saw self-healing, he just seemed strange. It was sung and there were mudras. It seemed strange to him, and he had criticized. It seems a little strange, and in that. But then in another time he came to Rinpoche, and in front of also another master who was even more important. He said, "I was wrong, and I apologize." What Rinpoche did, I've never seen anyone have this courage to adapt a practice to the necessities of today. When he thought something was right, he went forward with that. It didn't matter if someone agreed, didn't agree, or if he was criticized, if the whole world criticized him. It didn't matter. If he thought it was right, you know, unless someone could prove the opposite, if it convinced him of the convinced him of the opposite, then he would change his mind. But otherwise, if he thought something was right, he would go forward. So when he transmitted, I remember in 1994, Lama Kanchen was showing self-healing, the practice at the monastery of Sera with more than 3,000 monks, and so the content wasn't strange, but what was strange for them was the melody. Oh my God, the melody was strange. And Rinpoche never pulled back. He always just went forward, and he's allowed. If we follow the teachings that Rinpoche has, if Rinpoche, if we follow the teachings that he has transmitted, and I tell you that when I went to study Tantra on a deeper level, so many things I already knew through self-healing. So Rinpoche gave us things, he treated us something like a father, a mother, like we're like the children, with songs and dance. But he was actually transmitting incredibly precious and important things. So through self-healing, we have this great, great richness, and we're going to learn things that are for nothing obvious, and he taught with just such so easily. And so we put our effort into creating the causes and conditions so that he can return to us. So we already have everything we need, but because of our the holy beings are here around us. Can always manifest. They're here, but because of our ignorance, we need to be able to listen and touch and hear them. So we need him we need his physical manifestation to return. We're not asking to convince him to come. We make these prayers to create on our side the causes and conditions for that to come about. So now, let's now recite the prayer.
Dechen yab yun songi da kyong zi lo san tempe nyen che si pe mi top ten de gyu zi me kyun yam por Ching le dro we mariam pa ya chom Shem pe le dro yar pe ngam parte Gon kyo pa wo pa me tson amanki Metodo darol moyer kedrem Kala che petulgi shekshintum Dacha dung seul debut tsam gong. Shiwe ko idro wa zum so. Shiwe sungi chedra na warje. Shiwe to ni shempe jam tse shi. Shide sempa chembo nyur chensho. Top ten de tse nyempo ya shempencho. Sem ran kam da mengoyaru. Do gu tsim ze drup warim poyache. Rime drowe nyenchi nyur chensho. Drobwan ke ni drowe shiderten. Da so nam kya shideten to nyer. Chi sidro wa shide trong choyato. Malete se que shalten zoyachi. Da charem chishindro pala. Lama concho sumki to chindan. Che parten son dorce shudencel. Nam she le ma ye ton troyatsu. Che wa conto yanda lamada. Dral me cheki pe la long chin. Sadang lam ge yente rab zoyane. Dorje change kopanyur tobashon. Saya shi peke chushi medo chan rirab linshe nide gemba di sange shindul mikte ulwargi drogu namda shingla che par sho jetsun lame kotse rapten che namkar tinle chochur gepadang lo san tempe drume sasum ki. Trove munsel takto ne gyor chi yedam guru ratna mandral kam niryata yami. Ripetete dopo di me. Sem chö sudro, chö lam tudro, lam la parce, mio marsho. Possa la mente diventare il Dharma. Possa il Dharma diventare il sentiero. Possa il sentiero essere libero da interferenze. May the mind become the Dharma. May the Dharma become the path. May the path be free from interferences. Nimo dele tsendele Nime kuyan dele kshin Nin sentakto delekpe Concho sumki jingilo Concho sumki ngodru Concho sumki trashishon. All'alba o al tramonto, di notte o durante il giorno, possano i tre gioielli concederci le loro benedizioni, possano aiutarci ad ottenere tutte le realizzazioni e cosparge il sentiero della nostra vita con molti segni di buon auspicio. Serve tercenceresi Dime Kempe Wampo Jampe Liang Duopong Malu Jom Tse Sang Wedang Kanchen Kepe Tsogen Tsong Kapa Lo San Trakpe Shabla Asolwade. Grazie a tutti.